Welcome everyone to the official Holistic Human Optimization Show. I am your host, Ronnie Landis, and today I am joined by an extremely special guest, a very, very dear friend of mine, a sacred ally, and just a human being that I love and adore. Literally one of the world's foremost transformational leaders, a human being that I just can't say enough about. And so that's why I'm bringing her on here live with all of us to really drop into some incredible conversations around human potential and many other things. Miss Marci Lock.
Yeah, thanks, love.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. I receive it.
Yeah, and this is a special episode, especially for all those watching this video, because Marci is quite literally on a world traveling mode right now.
Global citizen journey experience right now.
Yeah, and she is here staying with me at this beautiful house in Maui that I've been occupying for the last couple months or so.
I thought I was renting out a whole other house.
Yeah, well, we won't go into that.
A whole other journey, guest house, yes.
Well, we're here now. And, just to set this up, I'd love for you to share with the audience just a little bit about your background. I think one of the things that we really wanted to talk about was our journey of evolution, and all the work that we've both been doing from where we've been and maybe some of the stages and just where we are now, and how the journey never is stagnant and how it shape shifts and morphs and how we change in the process.
Well, I mean, our experience the last week has been like in just our little conversations on our way to the gym or to the beach or in whatever we've done have been evolutionary, right? And so, I mean, if I was to like, oh, let me share my story, I mean, oh my God, that would be, they did a documentary of my life because they're like, there's so much to our evolution and there's so much to that. And yet specifically, as we were talking about, you're so good in human optimization and in the body vessel. And I was telling Ronnie that, this has been a conversation I've wanted to actually speak to with, so I love this. He's the divine you're the divine he's the divine masculine, I'm the divine feminine, and we both within get to be healed feminine and masculine, balanced feminine and masculine, to be able to operate with body as the truth vessel. And as we were speaking more to our journey with the body as the vessel, right? And I see it as like healing the wounds, the core wounds around the body, which we know that the only core wound in and of itself is a separation of your own divinity and sovereignty. So when we heal that wound, that, it's unconditional acceptance of self, you're in a space of operating fully. And so that's like a whole evolution. Yet to the body, what I realized is in my programs alone, because I was the Body Mind Mentor on TV years ago. So I was known as, the nutrition fitness expert. That's really where I started in the industry, because my journey of, optimization, or my journey of finding my own love and happiness started with the body. The body was my shit. Like, meaning it was like, I started from 4 years old taking on beliefs that if I didn't have a perfect body, I wasn't good enough. I wasn't going to be loved, and it comes from the most, even, things that aren't traumatic. Really, when I was 4 years old, I remember having a memory of my mom, like coming out of her room, and she was so upset, and she was just sad and distraught. And the word she said, "Oh, I worked so hard, to shed or to lose," her words were lose, I say shed, to lose 5 pounds just to gain it back again. And at 4 years old, like, my mom was perfect. My mom was, I'm like, if she could see, herself through my eyes, I just looked up and I love my mom. And of course, and this is where we take on these ideas and these stories is, it's like, I just wanted my mom to be happy. So all of a sudden it's like, I saw that she wasn't happy, and I saw that it had to do with the body. And I didn't understand what weight was or what the body was, but I took on, oh, she's not happy with herself. And the words that I said, I still remember this because this is an ingrained imprint in my experiences. I remember saying out loud, I said, well, maybe God gave it back to you because you needed it. Like, I just wanted my mom to be like, you're perfect, be happy. And it was a short time later, I remember her, going, I'm going to go for a walk. You want to go? And I was like, yeah, let's go for a walk. And I was just an excited kid ready to go for a walk. And, getting outside, and I reached out to hold my mom's hand. And she said, oh, no, I can't hold your hand. I have to do this to burn calories. And in that moment at 4 years old, I made a very impactful decision, which was, oh, you know, calories, burning, like working your body. Like your body is so important. Your body looking a certain way is so important that your body has to look a certain way to be loved. That was an impactful decision. And it wasn't like a traumatic thing. My mom wasn't in any way trying to hurt me. I love and adore my mother. That was the same kind of imprinting I took on, which meant I had to fight my body. I had to struggle with the body. And so from that time I did. And by, you know, 14 years old, I was anorexic and bulimic. I had years of just working out hours upon end, like always fighting the body. And it was when I was around, you know, as I went through some, you know, like some divine intervention that literally questioned one day, I was like, man, I was so tired of fighting the body. I was like, there's got to be another way. Like, because it looks like insanity. We're all doing the same thing. We're all working out hours at the gym and fighting our body with food and all these things. And yet everyone's still always in the fight game, you know? And so I remember like questioning, like, there's got to be like another way. And something whispered in my ear, you haven't tried education and the mind. That was like, and I was like, where did that come from? And I was like, you're right. I've always been like, what's the next workout plan? What's the next pill? What's the next product? That was really my journey of the internal game of seeing that it was like, what's going on inside? And I realized I'd never found out how to work with my body. I never had questioned, how does it work with food? How does it work with exercise? What is the optimization of this vessel that I've been given? I was just always seeking an external result because my scared little girl, my internal self didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel good enough. Hence, I saw why all those years I never allowed myself to get to the body. And here it is, like I'm close to 40. And I mean, I'm always staying pretty, you know, ripped and shredded, but now it's in a place of ease and love and unworthiness. And that was my journey of going from like fighting the body to coming to a place of absolutely being at peace with my body, because I couldn't allow myself to live in the behavioral results of having a vessel that was energized and healthy and strong and worked as it's designed, which we know, until I was able to love myself, that I was worthy of having that. So that's a gist of where we're going, obviously, because if we went into all my ways of evolution, it'd be like,
we'd be here for a long time.
Yeah, I've been the person diving in all over the world on the craziest things of the internal game. So, but that the journey to what I really wanted to speak to is that how, like you said, we're always evolving. So it's like when I started as a trainer, and then I created, I became the body mind mentor on TV. I created a 90-day mind body transformation program that was in gyms. And at that time, even the videos and things I have like 40 plus workout videos, a couple cookbooks. This to me is like 10 plus years old, like maybe even longer than that. And now it's like, as people get into that and I see what I'm doing now, there's a space of like, well, what I live in is very different now. Yeah, I see the value in, if I didn't go through learning how to work with my body with food, learning how to work with my body with those things, I would still be just doing the thing. Like we talked about fasting. Intermittent fasting is something we both live by and do. And so if we were today to just be like, hey guys, cool, yeah, this is what we do. We intermittent fast. And, you know, we once or twice a day, 1 to 2 hour window, people go, what? And then they go, oh, cool, I'm going to do that. And they do it based out of, I still am desiring an outside external validation or result to try to get somewhere, to arrive somewhere and feel good about myself, which just means you're going to sabotage it. So I believe there's value in that journey. And so I would say to people, this is where I started back then. It's not what I'm living now. But I got to learn how to operate with those things and become to this stage and this stage and this stage. And I feel like that's a conversation a lot of people don't have, because they're always just seeking the results.
Right. And, you know, it's interesting about the intermittent fasting industry and kind of what you brought up, where, you know, now intermittent fasting, ketogenic diets, vegan diets, raw vegan, paleo diets, whatever box. It's interesting because also with social media, there you have the picture perfect individual who's like the role model for it, and then that's kind of the hook for people to be like, oh, I want to look like that. I want to even feel like that, whatever it is. And maybe it is authentic. However, there is a journey to get there, and so people have a tendency to bypass the actual journey, and if they don't get there, which they inevitably won't because they need to go on the journey, then they're going to self-sabotage.
We bypass. It's like a spiritual bypass. It is a spiritual bypass, because you're looking for, you know, trying to ask someone else to give you the answer. A lot of times when people, so I mean, as a back end on the internal game, like I went from, this is why they did the documentary, I went from being a $2 an hour waitress to having clients pay me up
I
to $1 million.
definitely wanted you to mention this part.
Right? Where it's like clients pay me up to $1 million plus to work with me. And even right now, that's not even an option. Like my journey right now being of such value to myself that you can't pay me even of any amount of money.
You're not for sale.
I'm not for sale. And because even to experience my own level of freedom, which again, this happened with the body, with money, with relationships, with everything, to experience my highest level of freedom, I had to give it to myself. How can I teach that to other people if I, don't give it to myself? Because I believe leaders go first. And, we can't teach anything that we aren't being. And I'll get people that will message me and they just want the answer. And it's like, cool, this is feedback for you of what you're really seeking and how you get to allow yourself to go internal and find those reasons why you're seeking something else outside of you. Because ultimately, until you come back to a place where you're like, you love your body now, you're never going to allow yourself to have a healthy body and vessel anyway.
Yeah. So it's kind of like it's you're not necessarily satisfied, but and I think that's a great distinction. Like I'm not really satisfied, or it's kind of an interesting fine line, because I'm fulfilled, I'm happy, but I'm always pushing the boundaries of what's possible. I'm always moving forward towards a greater level of growth in all areas of my life. So there's a sense of like, not dissatisfaction, but there's like, I know what's possible. And so I'm always going towards it, but I'm not going towards it from a place of like, oh, I hate where I'm at now. I can't stand where I'm at now. So I need something to change. Yeah.
And we get to first shift that. But I'll say, like, when do we actually say I am completely at peace with myself now? And I'm actually doing this unplugged, training conversation tomorrow because it felt so true and relevant to realize how Jackson, we got a little dog hanging out with us. He's like, anybody in there? But how relevant it is to realize that unconditional acceptance of self right now.
Right.
So again, if there's even a thought of like, you and I had this conversation where it's like, when we're seeking for that thing outside of us, what we're only saying to our core self inside is, I'm not worthy now. I'm not enough now. When I arrive there, when I get there, then I'll be good enough. Then I'll be deemed worthy. Instead of actually saying, ooh, that's interesting that I even had this thought that my body should look this way, or what else is possible, what's there. Instead of being in a place like, ooh, I love myself so much. And you know what? How else can I have even more energy? How else do I give myself permission to feel even greater right now? Like what else would feel good? And so then this gets into a dance of, you and I were talking about how, like I've said, I was like hardcore. I have an adventure company. Come here, Jackson, come over here. Come over here, babes. You could just open the door too, and then he might not plot it. But I have a whole adventure company, and I used to, my Goddess Revolution retreats even used to be like one day where literally I would put us through 6 to 8 workouts back to back from 6 a.m. till later on, teaching us how to tap into our primal power. And that, because again, it was the balance of the masculine and feminine. It's like tap into the primal power and all that your body is, knowing that it's not what your mind is. You do one workout and you think you're done or you're toasted. It's like, actually, your body is effortless. It can do more than you've ever given it permission to do. You just have never allowed yourself. And how we actually would recharge with meditation or jump in the water. And then people are like, literally like, holy fuck, I don't know how I'm doing this. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so full of energy again. And I just did this entire kick-ass workout. So I used to do the most intense kick-ass things. I used to run up mountains with 40-pound weight vests. Now I'm like, what in the fuck? Like, it was all out of like, how hard can I go? How much can I do? It was very much like this always striving. And, it's like I was missing the view in the mountain because I was so focused on like what my result was, and I was using it for workout and to get up the mountain and then run back down the mountain and like, whoo, that's what gave me satisfaction. But guess that was just a validation outside of me of saying I could do this form of, I was this strong. I could do this form of kick-ass ability. And instead of so that was my journey, is aligning to, like, now I was telling you how my workouts have become way more feminine. And my body's actually more lean and ripped. And it's just because it's been more the energy of the attachment to the workout, or the connection to the workout is not like, okay, I got to do this, bitch. It's workout time. It's like, I wake up and be on this journey of absolute freedom that I'm on. I'm like, wake up when my body feels restored. And I'm like, what would feel good? Like, do I want to move?
Right.
Like, what would that movement look like? And playing is like, it feels good to move, and playing with that movement because I'm moving and I'm exercising because it feels good.
Right.
Not based out of like, I will exercise because then I'll have ripped arms, and then I'll be an image, and then I'll look a certain way, or then I'll be tough enough or strong enough, or whatever ideal is outside of me. So there still is, just when we come down to any time there's any resistant energy with anything, it's a blocking energy. So even to say, what else, like I'm not there, is kind of saying there's a struggle to it. Yeah.
So I want to, as you're bringing this up, I wanted to just add that piece to the thing that I said, which is very much like my human potential in all the ways that it's coming from an inspirational place. And when it's not, then I feel stress, and I feel that resistance. And more my journey as a man, as a masculine, embodied human, is that it's recognizing, where am I coming from? When I go to the gym, is it coming from, because I'm not a full-time athlete anymore. So that same inspirational motivation to excel as an athlete is not there. So now it has to come from a different place of like, well, if I don't genuinely enjoy it, then maybe there's something else I should do, like go to the beach. And when I love to lift weights or be in that energy, then I'll go do that. And so that's I just wanted to add that piece to it. It's not like
you live in that way. Just to clarify for people, where it's not always striving for something outside of you, always to try to arrive.
Yeah, because you're never going to arrive. You're playing an infinity game.
Or you're already arrived.
Right.
See, and this is the funny thing. It's a paradox. Everything is a fucking paradox. Yeah. Everything is. Go for it. Yeah. So everything is like, it's just, this is the bottom line thing to anything, whether to be making millions or, epic relationships or, the body alignment, anything. It is to actually come into a place of the alignment with the frequency. It's like what is the underlying frequency of why you're doing something, right? And if you're doing something out of force or fight or struggle or strive or try, or it's not enough, or I'm aiming to get to be something that's outside of me, that's perfect. That's great. You added some good lighting there. Then the energy's in alignment to receive. But see, when we're saying, like, if anything is ever like shame energy, blame energy, like, so if we're like, like if you go to bed at night and you're like, oh man, if I could just, when I get this and when I get that, like, and it's saying I'm not enough, it's a shame energy. Shame energy is the lowest vibrating energy that exists.
Yes.
So just like if you're, blocked with any type of way of being, any type of anything in life, are actually layers of resistance of our ability to receive. So with money, with everything, it's like, if I actually am open to honoring all people, all beings, all things, all experiences, like I can choose what's best for me in my workouts, and I don't have any judgment or story around anyone else any other way. But if we're over here going, oh, well, you should do it my way. It's interesting. This is like kind of off topic, but it correlates. And that someone messaged the other day my team and was like, hey, I really want to buy Marci's Divinity Keys course, diving into Gene Keys. But I got to know, is she a vegan? That's what they asked my team.
Interesting.
And the funny thing about this is, like, first off, I was like, I am in a place where I don't eat meat. And I don't have a label or an attachment to it. If my body felt called for, I also believe that we have agreements with the animals, the plants. We're all in we plants are living. We're all in a perfect experience. We're all in our what we agreed to and came to for our experience and our journey. So it's like, how could I ever, anytime we create separation or a label, we're creating separation. So, I told my team, is like, how do I answer this? Like, what do you, and she was like, I only want to support entrepreneurs or spiritual entrepreneurs that are, vegan, because that's important to them. Great. Well, guess what though? We're talking about Gene Keys. Gene Keys is like a fucking transmission of
it doesn't matter who you are.
That is going to massively change your life. Like, that will increase your ability to, be the highest evolution of yourself ever, if you're called to that. And yet to not receive that information because someone might not live the way you live is a block. And it's a guard, and it's creating separation. So even these labels, I don't have labels. I don't have, that's why I wouldn't call myself, like, I wouldn't call myself a religion. I wouldn't call myself
a diet.
anything, right? It's like I get to tune into what's right for me, but it's just, these are the funny stories that we create that create separation.
And that block us from actually receiving.
And the same thing, the same thing goes with like any type of resistance that you have. So when you have a resistance to your body and just tune in for a minute, and I could put this in a lot of different ways. Let's say, for instance, like with relationship, if you stop and you go, what's my relationship to relationship? If my relationship to relationship is that it's hard and it's a struggle and it's sacrifice, and man, like we were talking and you were like, man, if like in an experience of being like an entrepreneur, man, he wants to kick ass, women could be like, wanting your time, and that could be seen as draining. And then you attract women that are doing that because that's your relationship to relationship, and vice versa. Whatever I've had with relationship, same thing. If your experience with the body is a fight and a struggle, because mine was. I grew up seeing my dad sick. My dad had diabetes. He died when I was 15 of diabetes. All of my family had cancer, sicknesses, diseases. It was everywhere. So I grew up literally from a young age believing like the body is, you have no control over it. It is a struggle. It's a fight. It's sickness and disease. I saw tons of death. By the time I was like 5 to 10 years old, I'd seen a ton of death from sicknesses and diseases. So of course, when I was little, I started getting sick. I had lots of little weird sicknesses. I had, oh my gosh, I can't even remember the name of all of them now. Like I know I had migraines. I had a hernia. I had all sorts of things. By the time I was 24, I had breast cancer. That I healed myself of breast cancer. That's as I see. There's all these things people are like, I never knew.
I didn't even know that.
Like my story is so traumatic, and that's actually part of my design. Is that I was drawn to the shit because part of my design and who I'm here to be is I wanted to figure out how to evolve from the struggle and the sacrifice. So I took on all the contracts. I took on so many contracts of struggle and sacrifice from rape attempts and kidnappers and stalkers. And sexual abuse. So from the body, and being like, even for me to create a body of health when I first got offered TV was like, I instantly created injuries that I couldn't even walk. Again, walking, moving forward, my right foot just completely gave out. It's funny how little things are showing up and I'm like, dude, masculine side, that's it. And we're tuning into the emotional connection of it. So I instantly was like, okay, foot moving forward, masculine energy, moving forward, feeling safe to move forward. And as I tuned into it, I was like, oh my gosh, because I had a relationship to something. And this is why I want you to tune into the belief around something, like the belief around your relationship to the body, just like relationship to money or relationships or anything else. When I tuned into it and I talked to my little girl, because your little boy, little girl is running your reality. We know that because it's your unconscious programs. I was like, my little girl was like, you do not get on TV because you are not safe. Like instantly it was like, if I get on TV, I'll have more attackers. I'll have more stalkers. I'll have more scary people. Because I had evidence of that my entire life, being raised in fear mentality and lack and scarcity and all those things. So as I got to move through the process, like, aw, sweetie, like what's really true? And like what's really happening here is you're blocking. I was creating a way to sabotage moving forward and receiving what I really wanted, right? Because the internal belief system said, no, that's scary. That's my relationship to it. And when I had created a new contract with my little girl, it was like, sweetie, guess what? When you're in the light, like when you're in the spotlight, you're actually the safest place you can be. When we're seen and we're like fully being ourselves. So let's think about this. When we're trying to hide our shit and wear a mask, we're trying to hide and we're trying to be, like, I don't want people to know, but this is about me. I want to appear to be this way. We're actually, there's always fear of being revealed. When you let your shit be exposed, when I'm like, guess what? I totally had my shit about the body and I had like all these experiences. Guess what? There's nothing for you to try to find out because I'm free.
Right.
I'm totally exposed and free. So when I help my little girl see that actually when I'm in the light, I'm in the safest place possible. I attract more angels and more friends and I'm seen and I'm like, but when I'm hiding in the dark, that's when I'm in the scariest place. That's when I'm attracting low vibrational stuff, hiding because of shame or worry. Because again, what am I projecting? Fear, worry. Oh no, I'm in danger. And that can be the same reason why someone will sabotage the body. And I see those are all things I got to look at, like sexual abuse being, if a man looked at me at the gym, I would bolt. That was me in the past.
Interesting.
Now a man looks at me, you've probably seen me. And I'm like, take a fucking picture. Because I know this looks good. It's just like I
have not seen her do that in the gym, by the way.
No,
not that.
Paying attention is the guy's looking. I'm like, I see you. It's okay. I know. It's okay. But I had to shift that.
Yeah.
because that would have controlled my reality. I literally had experiences where I felt so unsafe, I would bolt out of the gym. And then it was like, okay, what's happening? Like, why did that scare me? Oh, because that was an association to not being safe. When really, truly, I can now see it as I'm being admired, you know, and I, of course, there's a whole level to this of creating safe boundaries and all these other things, you know, but that's a huge space to like, what is your energy? So I will bring it back. I promise. What I was saying is, look at the underlying frequency, the energy behind anything. If you're working out because you have to, you should, you need, it's going to give you validation. You're in a shit show. You're always going to be in a vicious cycle, and you're always going to sabotage.
It's never going to matter how good your body gets. We know so many. I mean, I grew up in the elite athletic world. So, I mean, I can speak from my own experience, and also being surrounded by so many people that had just world-class athletes who could do things that, you know, very few people on the planet can do, and had these incredible bodies. I achieved that myself. And yet there was also this lingering sense of it was never enough. There was also a joy because I love what I was doing, but very deep inside, what drove me and what drives a lot of successful people is that there is that sense of validation. There's that sense that it's never really going to be enough, and we stay striving, we stay on that. Or then on the other side, what I've noticed with a lot of people is that it can go the other way. Like I think what you're talking about, which is they can be scared.
So they sabotage it, and it was, back in the high school days, and they're not living in the present and now and living up to allowing their greatness either. Right? Yeah. Like
one thing that came up for me while you were talking is that growing up in school, I was the kid who didn't want to put my hand up, even if I knew the answer or not. I didn't want to raise my hand. And look at what I'm doing now. It's crazy, right? It's like, but I still have that in me where it's like some days I don't want to do Facebook Live because maybe I look tired or I don't think I can show up. And it's like, that's still, you know, that can go in a whole different direction.
Well, that's actually perfect that you brought that up, because, you know, it's like, that's why you can see where when we were just talking about it, you were saying there's still something there that's making you like, what else is possible? Now, when we just catch it, we go, oh, wait, what energy is that coming from? Is that coming from the old story of I was an athlete and I was so successful in this and this and this, and yet I still always had to keep up the image. We were talking about being on a pedestal. I'm like, I don't want to be on your fucking pedestal, by the way, people. I have no pedestal here. I'm not your guru. You are your own guru, because I want nothing to do with the pedestal. In fact, my journey even now is like, how much more authentic and raw and real can I be about my entire shit show and my entire journey? Because the moment we're on your pedestal, then what happens is it's like it's like with Instagram and with everything else, like you pick the certain pictures. And guys, I do this too. I caught where I was like, oh, how we want to like show certain sides, but not all sides, or go through our shit and then show the nuggets. And this is part of the whole journey. Like you just said, where there's days where I'm like, you know, it triggered the fuck out of me to be put in an environment where I had to share space, because I've had to do that for so long. Like I had like my boys, and, you know, now they're living with their dad for the first time in like 15 years, first time I'm, you know, as a single mom, like they're living with their dad. And, you know, yes, I had like my former relationship, my beloved that I completed that with when I left, and my house manager that would be in, but I had like my huge amount of own space. And everywhere I went, it was like this. And all of a sudden I was like, what? I gotta walk across to this house and be in the kitchen. Like my little girl was triggered. You saw the first time. I was like, okay, this is interesting for me. And because it's like, I want to choose when I want to be seen. Right. And so we all have, like with Instagram, you pick your pictures and you can pretty them up. And so our whole society is bombarded by this image of getting to that place. And you're so trained in that. And that is the way we've been trained to operate, which is in the masculine, which is in the doing. And it comes from when we check in, like I told you how I've really been checking in. It's like whenever my mind is trying to think it through or make a plan or control something or make the decision, it's coming from validation. It's coming from like, oh, this would look good, or what else would be possible? Or so you have created so much, and yet there's always this strive. So now when you just catch it and you tune in, you're like, wait a minute, like, is this really coming from this would feel good? This is something like coming through me to feel inspired to create and to share, like this feels good. And there's even a level to that unconsciously of like, because actually we're used to the high of our validation.
Yes.
I was telling you that, how it's like we get used to this ego roller coaster of, well, if I create and do this, well, that does feel good. Because it's a high, and that actually is still a fake high because it's based out of ego and validation coming from outside of us versus like in your body and your system, like coming from your sacral and your solar plexus, your feeling centers saying, yeah, this would feel really good for me. So when we even catch the slightness and go, you're like, oh, I feel like I'm still striving for it. Now we trick ourselves with conscious languaging sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Like the conscious language was, I'm not like you, because you aren't unhappy. You aren't unfulfilled.
Yeah.
You live a happy, balanced, fulfilled life, but it's like the language is like, oh, I'm looking at what's possible
right.
versus I'm striving. But if the feeling inside is still saying,
exactly.
I feel this need to strive for more, or figure out more, or be more, again, to deliver more for these people,
right.
to share more content and information, because that's coming from a place of validation for your identity.
Yes.
Now, if you can just say, fuck it to all of it and be here. And we were talking about this of like someone in the art of doing nothing. If I was laying on the beach doing absolutely nothing at all, my vibration my essence, the vibration I'm giving out to the world is so fucking good and high. Like I literally turn around, and this is where, like, that's how you receive $1 million clients. We were talking about this. You're like, how did you do that? Versus if I'm going, okay, well, I should do this and I could do this. And I'm going to start this. They're doing that. Okay, how do I do that? What system do I need? Feel that energy. Yeah. That's like yucky. So same thing applies in all things. It all is really so simple. We make it so complex.
Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness.
It's so simple that we just go, oh, like what would feel good? Okay, what's the energy behind that? How do I want to move? And it's our journey to fine tune that level of alignment that we are actually in our divine state, which is bliss and flow and ease and joy and play. Because when we're playing, like we're talking and we're like creating, we feel so good and we're doing all this stuff, right? But when we're trying or struggling, then we can't create anything. And you're literally telling your body. So when people are struggling with their body and yet they're doing it because they have to, they're at the gym and I see people making like faces. Yeah. Like the faces say it's hard. Their energy says it's hard. Everything is saying I have to push through this. The message they're giving their body is my metabolism doesn't work. Losing weight is a challenge. My body doesn't know how to do this. All of that is literally what you're programming yourselves with. Versus like I've gone down to the jungles to do ayahuasca and do my retreats and different things and not worked out for a week and come out more shredded. Right. Because the message to my body is it's effortless and my cells regenerate every day. That's why I get younger every day and all these things. So it comes down to like, what are you vibrating? What's the relationship you have to your vessel, to money, to relationships, to everything? And
that question, so this is interesting too. It's part of a message I've been putting out in the nutrition world, which is that I don't eat the way I do because I have to. Like I do it because it is aligned with my spiritual path.
Yes.
And being more on the side of vegetarianism and eating raw foods and all that, that is part of my particular journey. Yeah. And that's what I'm called to do. And that feels good to me. Yeah. And when I go to the gym, even, it's funny, like thinking about that, when I'm pushing myself, and there's like, I'm curious what your perspective on this, especially as someone who does this too, when you because it's like Michael Beckwith says that, it's really about striving for excellence. It's about giving our all. And that's a different energy than struggle, right? And I want to just make that distinction, get your take on it, because to me, when I'm pushing, I might make that face for like 10 seconds because I'm trying to get everything I can out of those last couple of reps. It's not like I don't have to do that, but it's like I just want to push myself for that last bit to get everything I can. Then I collapse and I'm not moving for as long as it takes. So I'm curious, like that distinction between struggle versus striving for excellence.
So could you achieve the same result without the push?
Well, okay. So
see what I'm saying?
I'm not trying to. So for me, I'm not actually focused on the result. I'm focused on it's interesting. I actually enjoy that moment of pushing.
Yeah, but what I mean is, look at the very fine-tuned conversation, which is even the word pushing,
right?
And the energy of to achieve that level of like, I worked my muscle to its to
right.
its
capacity.
And it might even, if you look at like what's really the result or the thought around, I have to have that certain experience to get there. Is it,
right.
it's the feeling of, so we've been trained this because I did it too, right? I was like, I mean, my old workout videos, literally like we did Marci minis. I mean, every fucking dude in my workout videos was like, holy fuck. And these guys were like hardcore athletes, survival guides that were ripped and shredded. Like I knew how to fatigue the muscle and maximize results. And so, yes, there is that part of the journey where I'm saying there still might be imprints of like, cause you know, for me too, I told you where it's like, I'm like, ooh, like lifting weights sounds really good because I'm traveling all over in third world countries and I can work out with my bands and things like, ooh, it feels really good to get to the gym. Yeah. And all I'm saying is, could that be an old construct of, well, for it to feel like a success to you, for me to achieve. Now you say you're not looking to achieve a result, but the result you're attached to is a certain feeling.
It's a state of feeling of it. Yeah. Like I gave it my all.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm asking you to get curious about and be open with is, could I allow an experience with my body where I feel like I showed up for it and it felt so good and I gave it my all. I gave the experience of like, or let's say I fully embraced the experience. Right. I fully embraced feeling my muscles and feeling the whole thing. And I felt that without me having to create a hard face. Sure. Even if it's for a few little bits, use the word of like, or the thought that, okay, I just got to push this out a little bit. Because I'm over there still, like when you see me, I don't know if you see me, if you're watching when I'm doing my thing over there, but it's like, and I'll do some like Marci minis. Like Marci minis are still something I'll implement when I'm like, ooh, I want to like feel this muscle. But see, my around it is like, ooh, I can feel this. And I know I can be on that place of dancing with it. Where it feels good and I'm maximizing its fullest expression. Because what happens is when you break down, let's say for instance, you lift a weight, okay? Most people are blah, 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 blah. They're not getting results anyways. We can do a whole little workout series here and show you guys. And so my main thing I want you to hear is the energy behind it. Yet like even in doing so, when you reach a point of fatigue with your muscle, right? Is actually when the muscle spindle fibers break down, and then what's going to happen is they're going to rebuild and repair to a bigger, stronger muscle. So if you don't reach that point where they get a breakdown, there's actually no rebuild to become even a stronger, more lean, more toned, more healthy muscle, right? And so it's like if you just go through the motion. So your idea is, well, I want to hit that point where I fatigue the muscle beyond, or to its fullest expression, and then I maximize the result of it. Now, all I'm saying is we drop the things that don't serve us. But we keep the things that do. Right? So it's like I can be over there being like, oh, my minis, like when it's like, oh, get that. And I can, mini, and like, but I'm in play with my muscle. And so even though I get the construct of what we're consciously saying, that's like, but see how it can become validation to keep doing what we're doing. Right. No, 100%.
That for the most part is my authentic experience. I'm not perfect by any means.
Little moments. I told you. So I have a really dear friend who she is like the divine feminine of the divine feminine. We were talking about Amber and how I did a little recent medicine ceremony journey, and she's a beautiful individual that works with medicine, and I'm in ceremony, like I'm kind of coming out of it, and we're just talking about, and we're both ripped and shredded and beautiful beings that take care of ourselves. And we were talking about how traveling all over the world, we use our bands to still work out and do stuff. And she said, I just liked it. She was expressing how she's like playing with her bands and how she's like, I just ride that edge of where it's like, I can feel my muscle and I'm in play with like, ooh, this feels good. And she has no structure where we were both came from like a gym, athletic fitness industry where it's like, do. She's like, ooh, how does this feel? And like, that's been a lot of my journey in like expressing the divine feminine and movement and just all things feeling good and all that. And she's like, I ride that. And the moment it becomes that I'm pushing or I'm in a struggle, she's like, I pull back into play. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, I still catch myself sometimes like, hey, let's do this, bitch. Like, let's go. And so again, I'm in more play.
Yeah.
I'm taking full authentic responsibility of how my life can become even more at peace with my own body, with my own like workouts, with never an idea of like, it'll be like, okay, well, I got to work out. It's like, no, that's an old idea. Like actually the truth is like, what would feel good? How would I like to move my body? And so I've learned to ask myself deeper questions or more curiosity type questions that come from my feeling body, not my mental game, because logic doesn't exist anyways. Just like as we're saying, evolution is always happening. We're never stagnant. So where you were, we had this conversation the other day about that was referring to relationship, right? And I said, it's like if I told you everything you know right now about the body is all you're ever going to know. Like to you, that would be crazy because I was like, you're like, oh, I'm learning every day. I'm evolving because this is what you geek out on, right? Like I geek out on frequency and dope, crazy shit around the world. Like how to be optimized humans is what we both geek out on. And you're like, oh, that's crazy. You're right. So here's this thought I was having in this construct of conversation. And it was the same thing as saying like, oh, I'm limited. And the truth is we're always evolving. This is why we're saying in this conversation that, what we did 10 years ago, we still looked ripped and shredded, and yet we were fighting the body, or there was, it's different than what we're doing now. But for each person, it's going through that journey of realizing, and ultimately, I think we want people to know that you can live in a divine body of health. Like this is your vessel. This is your vehicle, but the vehicle is here not as the thing for you to create a result on to be worthy or good enough. The vehicle is just the vessel for you to express your divinity, to express and experience all of life. Like it's about your experience of life. So to me, I want my vehicle to be, and actually in the recent time period, it's been like, to me, it's like my vehicle is devoted to the divine. Like so it took out for me, like, it's not about, looking a certain image. It's like I can't even actually imagine that feeling anymore because that's just so weighted and so heavy to me compared to like, what, if my intention and commitment is to be devoted to the divine, meaning I'm like in service to the divine, which means I'm in service to humanity. And when I serve humanity, I receive. I serve the whole and I receive, and it's this beautiful dance, right? So I want my vehicle to be able to go wherever I'm meant to go and create and be like in the fullest experience, be in the fullest expression. Hence, I'm headed to India and then Peru and then Brazil, like on all these cool things that have showed up. If I was someone who, was addicted to sugar and needing my or just like in a lacking or limited place of my energy and expression with my vehicle, first off, I probably wouldn't be attracting those experiences because I wouldn't be in high vibration alignment to them. And secondly, I wouldn't be able to fully be enveloped in that. I wouldn't be able to show up or have that experience in that way. And so the body to me now becomes, it's just my vessel for my fullest expression here to serve my gifts.
You're not obsessed with your body as an image or even as an experience. It's deeper than that. It's more of that you respect. You have so much self-esteem and self-respect that not taking care of your body is almost blasphemous.
It's out of alignment. It's out of alignment. And we can go deeper and deeper into stories there to go like, I've had my experiences where this is where my body shit comes out because of all that default conditioning. I still have it where I'll have moments where it'll be like, oh, all of a sudden it's like, I have a thought of how it should look. Or I have a thought of feeling shame around my body because I'm, like usually I'm pretty six pack lean all the time, but it's like having those times when I'm not, or I'm in certain experience. Like when I was in India and it's like, you're in different experiences and it's like, oh, interesting. Where did that thought come from? What does this have to do with my divinity? So see, it's a paradox, right? Because you're like, 1 second ago, Marci, you just said how I'm in alignment with my vehicle so that I am in the highest full expression of my divinity to serve the divine. And the very next second you're saying, well, if I'm not in total six pack or in alignment, what does that have to do with my divinity? Nothing. Okay. It's both. And this is the challenge for people to wrap their head around, where it's, again, the feminine, the masculine. The feminine is the receiving. It's like, oh, I receive this with ease and grace because I'm worthy. I'm worthy of having a divine, I'm worthy of feeling good. I'm worthy of like all the love and all the joy and all the play. And that means we want to go run it up and play on the beach and do all these things, right? So I'm worthy of that. And I'm also in the masculine in inspired, or I say the masculine in alignment is in inspired action. It's not, I'm going to force and push and do. It's actually, like, ooh, this feels good. And like, oh, how would I get to do that? So it's like this beautiful dance of both where it's like, can I love myself even if I'm not looking a certain image. Oh, because that construct came from somewhere else. That's not actually my divinity. That's not my spirit. That's not who I truly am. And how do so I don't go completely one way where it's like, well, then why the fuck would I even care? I don't take care of myself, eat whatever the fuck I want. That's actually like disrespecting. That can be, to me, it feels disrespecting to the vessel. And so I find that place of like, so when we go back to what we talked about in the beginning, where being happy with what you have, right? I have some really old meditations that, you know, around all the body stuff, because I still have meditations and workout videos, all that stuff that we share is just like, cool, this is like a phase of the journey. And it's like where it's literally like my perfect body of health, and it's talking to your body, and it's like loving every inch of your body. Because even if you have a belly, it's like loving that belly, loving yourself, like loving the belly is saying, I love you, I got you no matter what. Like, and it's like, and how do we feel better every day? Like, you know what, I'm healthier every day. And so I'm going to choose to continue to move and love on myself. The body is like, oh, it's love vibration. And I can create that as an experience. But when I say, oh, I hate you, stomach, like, why won't you just be this? Why can't you be that? And if I can only this, guess what? It doesn't matter how hard you fucking work out. You're telling your body to not metabolize, for it to be a struggle. And
we see that all the time, don't we? We see that with people that, you know, I see people that do a particular health or detox or cleanse program that I know works. I know for a fact it works. And I've seen people have unbelievable transformations, but there'll always be those outliers for whatever reason. They didn't lose the weight, or they didn't get the results that they were hoping for, and that they quite easily could have. And I've wondered about that, and I'm like, okay, it does have to come back to this then. It has to come back to some kind of repressed shame, or not feeling good enough or worthy enough. They took the action, so on some level they did feel like they were worth enough to at least make the investment. This shows up in coaching all the time, right? Where someone does a coaching program or a course, they show up for it, they make the investment, but then they either don't follow through, or there's some deeper repression there that doesn't allow them to receive the
because you're always going to create yourself to be right, you know, right? And so it's like
can you say that again and highlight that?
So because you're always going to create yourself to be right, you're always going to look for it to be right and true. So I mean, not only is there a message they're giving their body, but this is why, so as a coach years ago, I realized and decided that I can't save anyone. Like, it doesn't matter how much, if I give you all the information and I share it all with you, you're the only one that can save yourself, because you do get to implement it. And this is why for me, it's super important to get into like the alignment of the integration. It's not just a surface, here's the surface thing. That's why, I mean, even though medicine has been a huge part of my journey, and it's like, I used to take my $1 million clients and my high paying masterminds down to do medicine all the time, because I was so specific. I didn't want anyone and everyone to go do medicine. Because if you, just like anything, if you do a cleansing or clearing, just like a detox, right? And you don't know how to integrate that level of frequency or beingness in your life, you recreate the same shit. So they might do a detox and come out of it, and the whole time be like, I can't wait till I'm done with this thing. I want to eat my fucking food, or whatever it is. Or like, and again, I'm not worthy. And so they told their body how to respond, and they come out of it, and their thoughts are the same, and their perceptions are the same, and all the things, they recreate the same shit. So it didn't work for them, even though it can work for someone else. And this is why, you know, it all comes down to, you get to save yourself. Like, you can only be the one who chooses your thoughts, chooses your perceptions, chooses your beliefs, chooses your feelings, chooses your words, chooses your experience. We're sovereign creators. So yes, we and that's also why we get to honor everyone to have their own experience. Even though it worked for you, it might not have worked for them, because that's what they were, you know, that's where they were at in their journey. And so it's actually impossible for us to ever make a guarantee, or to say like, you're going to get this as a result, because I'm like, I don't believe in guarantees, first off, because you have to have an investment within yourself. Like you said, like, there's an investment level. So someone might take an inch towards investing, but there's still blocks internally on allowing them to receive that result. But see, that's all perfect feedback. Now, if we go from shaming and blaming it, but like, it's an all or none, it worked or it didn't. It's like, interesting. This was my experience with it. Same thing with like, you know, where I'm at with intermittent fasting things, it very much is aligned to like a spiritual game.
Yes.
Like, it's like food is not even a thought. Like food has no control over me. There's no association. It's simply like, and actually it's very honoring. Like, it's like our meal is like so sacred and honoring. And that's where the line is with my system. But even in moving to that, there was a time I felt like all my old shit wanted to come up around the body and around food. Like, okay, when I get to eat, and it's like, whoa, where did that come from? Like, there's something it's like finally giving myself permission. So, which I love about the game and the journey with the body, because obviously we all have a vessel.
Yeah.
We all have a vehicle. And we have been, from the time we're out of our mother's womb, trained in a society where food is associated to everything, from sadness to joy to celebration to, pain. It's everything. And so it is like one of our greatest gifts and tools are what's happening. And that's not even to get into the whole side about the body emotionally telling you what's happening in the feeling systems. I'm just talking about using food in your journey with the body to be like, to see the associations tells us where the story is,
right?
And what we're actually seeking right now. And this is why my passion is for people to go deeper internally, to see how they operate or feel what's really going on, to be in their experience, because then all things are seen, to be able to be to move through, instead of we continue to play this game where we're just like surface bullshit, self-empowerment, let me do the thing on the surface, that the feeling down here is always going to override.
Yes.
Always.
Yeah. It's kind of like what you mentioned about the little child in you is always running the show. And it's like, it's also this thing that I talk about sometimes, where what's repressed must be expressed. The unconscious must become conscious. That is what is trying to occur. Yeah. And so that's why we have a medication, tranquilizing, sedating type of culture.
Food,
every
everything.
Single think about this word television. It's actually broadcasting particular wavelengths in a beta wavelength that is hypnotically putting you in a spellbound state, where somebody literally could eat a bag of chips unconsciously, and by the time they turn off the TV and they look at the bag of chips, they don't even actually remember eating it, because they were basically hijacked.
Well, 95% of your patterns are memorized.
Right.
So it's like, that's why you can drive the same way every day, and then you didn't even know how you got there. Like 95% of your patterns are memorized. So that also means your thoughts. That means what you're used to. That means what you're attracting. And you said something that was so gold. Let's see, you said that what's repressed gets to be expressed, right? That is why you call in everything that you're experiencing. So
partners and
everything you're experiencing is simply a reflection of what is still repressed, gets to be expressed externally, so that you see it, so that you can actually heal it, feel it, move through it. But the challenge and the opportunity for people is that they continue to repress, or we go, oh, I don't like this result, I'm going to look over here. And we're using unconscious patterns and behaviors to not be living in the now, not feeling our bodies, not giving ourselves permission to be like, oh, what would feel good? What do I want to create? Like, what does that look like? Give myself permission to create the life that I love and live the life that I want, instead of operating from the construct of my community or my religion or the way I was raised or any programs. Everything in front of you is a reflection of your internal game, your internal world. So as you said, like, it's like it comes up, everything there, the more we actually lean into, and this is why I was saying everything being about unconditional acceptance. When we accept what's right in front of us, then we can go, thank you for that. Like, thank you for this feedback. Where is that coming from? Why would I have that thought or idea? Or why did I track that? What's really there? Like, ooh, my little girl feels sad or scared because of this. That's it. Like, and we can move through it. But see, we've been trained to just, it's the result or it's not, and it's this, you know. And even the other day when we were talking about proactive versus reactive, right? And you're like, well, like, there's this idea, like, well, if I work through all this stuff and I create the systems and I do all these things and my business is doing this and people are doing this, then I'll get to there where my life is operating that place. And I was like, but the thing is, like, right, when it shows up, when we shame it and we go, this means I'm not there yet, instead of going, thank you for that, it can take moments. Like we were having a shit show morning, right? And by later, within an hour or two, we were like on total high. And it was like, see how fast the whole, like we get to like love the ebbs and flows, the highs and the lows is why we came here as humans, to experience all of it. So to shame sadness or pain, would think about it as if you shamed and when people are doing this, they're actually pushing away happiness and joy, right? So it's like when we just allow all of it and we be with all of it. So that's kind of like the wrap up of our experience even with our bodies now. It's just like, hey, I love all of me. I love all of my experience with me. How do I continue to love on me? That's really it. How much more joy can I receive? How much more joy can I receive? Yes, yes, and yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Where do you go with that?
I mean, geez.
How much more joy can I receive?
I mean, it's like, I want to take it back for a moment.
I want to go into sex conversations now because that's where that took me.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about the other night where I was like, I just had the most blissful night in the stars by myself. I was out there going, how much more joy can I receive? How much more joy can I receive? Yeah.
That's a good
radical responsibility for self-pleasure.
Right. Well, that's a good, because we brought up before, like the thing about the wounding and I know as from a clinical perspective, studying trauma, the trauma often is it's often thought to be the event or the meaning behind it, and that's just a story that is associated with the moment of separation. But the separation, as you said, is from a clinical perspective is the defined moment of trauma, but the story and the circumstances around it can be recreated. And so that's like the non-local perspective of like that trauma can live on 30, 40, 50 years where all you actually have to do is drop the story around it and create that connection that you lost probably as a child.
Yes. And because even in the Gene Keys, it talks about the different cycles of like 0 to 7 years old, 7 to 14 years old, 14 to 21, where you will repeat the same cycles. That's why we take on beliefs, your subconscious mind. So when you were pre-7, you were only able to operate from subconscious. You had no logical mind to work from. So all of the pre-7 is when you took on all the programs, ideas, the stories, etc., that then repeat themselves through 7 to 14, that then add and they're going to cycle through these different evolutions. So it's like you that's why then you build up evidence. Well, no, my whole fucking life evidence, like a 24 this and a 35 this and a 20 this, and you could do this your whole life. You could do this made me upset when I was 4, and then this pissed me off when I was 8, and then this happened when I was 2. That's a never ending game. What I like to bring people to is like we finding the core belief systems or, and the programs, so you can find these moments where they showed up. Just like I was like, oh, like all of a sudden I got triggered at a certain age to go being on TV. And it was like, oh, that's attached to this old experience or story of like, I'm not safe, or like, I'm not enough, or like I could be rejected. I'll give an example. I had a client she was like a famous doctor, and we broke it down to when she was 2 years old, she peed on the floor and her dad had scolded her. It was like peed on the floor in public, and her dad had scolded her. She took on a belief that I don't trust my own body, hence I don't trust myself. So then
she became a doctor.
And she was triggered one day. She owns a huge practice, and she was triggered one day. And as I tapped in with her, I was like, what are you feeling in your body? She was feeling pain in her chest. I said, what are you really sad about? What came up is I can't trust myself. So all these things are still playing out. And as we dove into it would be like, well, here's the evidence from line 20. No, it's always from when you're pre-7. So when we found the correlating story, and yes, we connected the dots to that actually not happening, or like what really happened, because again, that was just a perception story based out of your unconscious mind, based out on being a little child that didn't have a logic to it. Like, of course, me peeing on the floor when I'm 2 has nothing to do with me not being able to trust my body or trust myself in life. I just peed on the floor because I was 2, right? And so yes, you're healing a connection to it. But when we recognize that these things will come up, so I see a lot of people will shame themselves for thinking, oh, well, like for me, my body shit has just shown up over and over again at different layers to allow another layer of my own healing to love myself. At all layers of being safe. This is why I got called to my journey. I told you I used to be called the journey of my aloneness, that I was called to go do this global citizen thing. And I was like, why am I called to do this? And it was all because I had deep imprinting that got to be healed even generationally, that alone meant I was unsafe, that I'd die, that I'd be, that, you know, I'd literally be abandoned and lost and I'd die. So of course I got to go on that journey to trigger all that shit. And now I'm like, I realize I'm calling it my journey with me, because like, even see the idea of that, like I'm alone. I'm like, first off, I'm with this. Yeah. This is great. And I'm like, there's no way I can be alone. So I'm still evolving into even more of how much more love and joy and expression and play I can have, so we can heal the story. But to have this idea of like, well, then it should be done. Like, I want people to hear, actually, like we talked about in the beginning, we're still evolving with the body. We're still evolving with relationships. We're still evolving with money and with play and with freedom and all of these things, giving yourself more freedom, more, as you catch yourself being like, I shouldn't, like, whoa, where did that come from? I've created a shit ton for people. And like, what's ultimately the most important is I'm happy. Yes. Because me being happy actually gives you the image or the example of choosing happy too. It's like being a mom who sacrifices herself completely for her kids to be happy. She doesn't teach her kids that they're loved and be happy. She teaches them how to self-sacrifice and how to have to do the same in relationships to feel love. And by the way, that particular example has been shown to be the #1 correlation emotionally to breast cancer. Yeah. Yep. Because breasts are joy, being worthy of love. Yeah. Fascinating. Yeah. Well. We could go on for days. So many conversations we've had that are so depth, because we both love to go deep. And it's like, if on the way to the gym, we would have just hit record. And then on the way after the gym, we just hit a record. We're on our way to the beach, or we need to grab food today. We were both like chilling at a coffee shop for a bit. It was like, all of these are little nuggets. So it's about time we like sat down and hit record. And yet, even though we knew this could go all places, because there's so many depths of truth, and we just, you know, we want everyone to live in freedom and liberation. What felt really good and true is like seeing where we both really started in the body and human optimization, and seeing the evolution of that. Yes. You know, and the freedom we want everyone to experience is that you're supposed to feel good. You're designed to feel good. Your body's actually designed as like the ultimate effortless machine. Like, I literally, this would be a whole nother conversation, but you know, I still get it all the time. Even the girl, the Uber driver that I had that brought me back the other day, she was like, and I told her she was so cute. She was like 40 years old, but she acted like she was 18. She had this cute little voice. And again, I love everyone. I find love in everyone. And she's like, I thought you were like 20. And she was like, you have kids? You know, like, and I look 10 years, 15 years younger than I did 10 years ago. Wow. Because when you go back and you look at my stuff, you're like, holy shit. Because again, I learned how my body really works, and I lined and tuned into that, where it's like my cells are regenerating every day. Yes. My body actually, every organ changes, you know, regrows and renews every year. Like, I'm actually getting younger every day. Yes. But society tells us something different. So you believe that. So you believe your body's a fight. So you keep struggling. When, you know, like, just drop the struggle. And part of that is just going to be love what you're feeling. Like, ultimately love all of it. Love all of it. It's an integrative experience, right? Why is the journey so much about expressing what's been repressed? Well, it's because we need to integrate all the disowned elements of ourselves, and that's where, you know, David Hawkins' work, he mentioned shame being the lowest vibrational octave, and when we shame ourselves, we're essentially disowning a part of creation, because it did take, you know, it's an interesting study to realize that it took all of God. It took all of creation, all of the cosmos, all of the stardust, all of everything to create each individual. So when we disown ourselves or shame ourselves or belittle ourselves, even when we think we're joking, it's out of integrity with our divinity. Right, yeah. You're actually a hologram of the I Am presence. I love that. You are an exact reflection hologram of the I Am presence, which means you literally have all capacity within you of all creation. Every cell in your being is a snapshot, a hologram, a fractal of the universe. So, you know, if we were truly, and this is why our journey is to, I believe, you know, to discover our fullest expression of each of our own divinity, because we're also that unique and that much of a miracle that we have our own voice box, we have our own fingerprints, we have our own toe prints. Like, we're that unique and divine. We're that much of a miracle. And so, like you said, like, if we were totally to live in alignment and integrity, which embodiment is integrity. Yeah. So if we were in integrity with who we truly are, we would never say anything bad about ourselves. Yeah. And that's actually, operating from the knowledge of being a highly evolved being. That's why I started in the beginning. These are some more in-depth concepts, and let's just talking about like, you know, operating in a body of health. But it's like, that's why if I was in resistance to any other person, you know, as a highly evolved being, I see the connection and energy, and that you're just a reflection of me, and we are all one. So if I'm to reject you, I'm actually rejecting myself. Hence, everything, every projection is a reflection of what's going on inside you, right? And so when I'm still in even like, you should live this way, or you should be this way, I'm putting a block of separation. I'm disconnecting from manifestation, from the universe, from that energy of creation, all because, like, as a highly evolved being, why would I ever hurt anyone or project on anyone or judge anyone or shame anyone when you're all a reflection of me, right? So yes, we are definitely, you know, we are just the most divine, amazing beings. And so let's just bring it back to like, it's silly to think that our body as a result, as an image, would be a reflection of our divinity. That's cray. And I like cray. I'm cray in a different way. What I'm saying is it's insanity, meaning it'll drive you nuts, because it's like you and I talking about how the mind will just play its slippery game. And I'm like, that's because logic doesn't really exist.
It's made up.
It looks true for you now based on where you're at right now, because it's the logic you're looking for, but someone else looking at it through a different lens sees a different form of logic. So logic doesn't exist. So the mental construct is just to keep you in the Maya, the illusion. That's why, like, we actually just drop and we just witness, and we allow ourselves to feel and be. And that is how we drop playing in the game of Maya and go back to remembering. That's right. So even if you're struggling with the body and you tuned into this out of human optimization to like tune into how to rock out the body, cool. You're noticing and you're aware. The feedback is, I want to be even more in tune with my body. How and how can I be with that? And notice that it all comes back to like, I'm fully worthy of just, you know, I'm a beautiful divine being, fully worthy of living an amazing life. And that means my body gets to be in alignment too. And it comes from that place.
I mean, so beautifully said. And just to add on to that point very quickly, you know, from that perspective, if you are listening to this and your focus is bodily optimization, please remember that your mind is your body. Your mind is the repression of the mind, and the subconscious plays itself out in the tension of the body. And your emotions and your empathy run on neural networks. Our friend Daniel Schmachtenberger, well, that's part of why he developed his product Qualia, is to actually help increase empathetic circuitry. And so these things that we think of like emotions or spirit or the mind as like esoteric, disembodied aspects of the human experience are actually very much physical. It's actually very much part of the physicality. So if you're coming into this from, I want to have better performance, I want to have better digestion. I mean, I could go so deep into every single organ system, the emotions associated, all of it. And all that is to just say that this human optimization journey is about becoming a holistic, integrated, optimized, full human being, having a human experience, but not forgetting that you're actually a soul. You're actually, there's a soul signature, which is your uniqueness and your authenticity, and you're playing it out through the animation of the body.
It's your vessel of expression, right? And the mind is, I always say the mind is connecting the parts, but it's being clear to realize that, versus we've been trained where it's the big thing. Even like when people started getting to like consciousness is cool and like mindset, then people believe mindset is everything.
Then they get locked into the mindset.
And I'm like, no, mindset is like me using my pinky finger compared to all that I have ability with my entire body. The mindset is just to connect those dots. So like if I go, ooh, I'm feeling like I have this injury show up, or I'm feeling this in my body, and I can be like, ooh, interesting, like what am I feeling? I ask a question to tune in, and it's like I'm using my entire system. Like, why is that? Oh, there's that thought or that story. And it's just to connect the dots, but looking at like, what is all of my operating systems doing? You know, like, and that's through, because one thought actually has, or I'll put it this way, your vibration, or one cell, and the vibration of a cell is 500,000 times stronger than a thought. That is why if you just stay here, and even on the positive side, if you're like, you know, like like you're saying all the affirmations and yet we talked about if you're not feeling that same vibration, this isn't doing jack shit for you. And it's actually reaffirming because your body feels like it's a lie. So when you say, when you say, so let's say for instance, you know, like if you say, you know, I'm 6-pack abs, and your body's like, fuck you, you are not. Like, you are not. You remember all the times that you struggled there and there, and look at your body, but like, see, it feels so inauthentic to your body that it reaffirms what it believes. And so that's the vibration it puts out. So when it's finding the connection to that. And actually, you know, in my freedom audios, we talked about how it's like you know, these things, it's like walking through how to connect to your whole self, is to go, this is what I'm feeling. This is why. Okay, so then what do I want to experience? What do I want to create? And moving through it using your entire system to then come back into alignment. So you could say in that example, you know, I can't believe that I'm 6-pack abs. Like my body is like, that doesn't feel good. It's because your body will tell you. But you can go, what does feel true? I can believe I'm stronger every day. I can believe I'm getting healthier every day. Just like in relationship, I can believe that, like, you know, it's like looking for evidence that relationships are a joy, or there's women out there that support me and being like my full expression of self, like being my full bright light, and not be like, no, you're going to leave me. Like, we can look for those things and then allow ourselves to line up to those things. That's why we're talking about the journey. Right. The journey that you get to go through. There isn't just going to be like, do this for your body and here's the answer, or now say these affirmations or implement this system. You actually get to go through the journey of seeing what internally has been your chosen gifts of discovery and healing as a part of your human experience to align to that remembrance of the divinity that you are and allow yourself to have it. There's that look.
Wow. Absolutely incredible. So I mean, so everything is just so I guess the word I'm looking for is just well integrated, you know. And I mean, like you said, we could go on and on. We're gonna have to reconnect when you get back from India. We get to. Thank you. See, she's always reframing. I call her the reframing master. Yeah,
I'm a Jedi in my reality. Yeah,
yes,
for sure.
Yes,
I leave in less than a week, and I'll be in India for some experiences in Peru and Brazil. And it's like we can go into such beautiful deep dive places. We'll just get to create a little connection from wherever I'm at in the world and do another little deep dive with the peeps on some good stuff.
Yes, I can't wait. And you know, just I want to mention for everyone, 90 episodes ago is when you and I did our first interview. Episode 70. So if you go back in the podcast log, episode 70, me and Marci did our first. Oh yeah, I know these things. Yeah. And we did our first interview, and that was amazing. I definitely recommend everybody go back. And that's part and parcel to what we're talking about, which is, you know, that was, I don't think that was like a year and a half ago, something like that.
So Ronnie was so cute. You're like the first person I've ever had request this, where, you know, you're like, I want, like, you wanted to schedule a podcast, and I'm really selective about who I give my time, effort, and energy to. And I was like, yeah. And then you're like, no, I want to come sit with you. Like, I want to do it face to face. I was like, oh, okay. You know, he like came to my house and we sat and did this podcast. It was the first time. That goes to show who you are. Like, you like really wanted my essence. Yes. And you wanted the experience of our, you know, divine connection in that space, not just like, let's jump on the phone or a Zoom and rock out a podcast. And from then on, like, you know, you came to my birthday party and like family parties, and as I was traveling and doing other things. And I was like, I said to him today, who would have known when we first met, you know, here we'd be like, however long later, I'm like sharing space and, you know, getting to have the amazing time that we've had this
week. You get to hang out every single day.
Yeah, we totally have.
Just tag team on this epic journey in this particular moment in time, and just support one another. You know, I look at, you know, I feel like you're a sacred ally. You know, it's like we have friends, and then I look at like, then we have like super friends, and it's just there's certain connections that we have in people along the journey, especially when, you know, we're both leaders in our particular fields, and then we align at particular times, and it's like, whoa, okay, I see you and I see me through you, and that's what I call a sacred ally.
And I had mentioned to you that what I'm calling in now is like living in a place where you can choose to no longer learn from hard or struggle or sacrifice. Because again, I know I'm a divine being who's fully worthy of, like, you know, I continue to, how much more joy can I experience? How much more love? How much more awesomeness? And so it's like, I'm just calling in those beings who reflect living in that place. Like my world is surrounded with like the divine beings who literally are like up to the greatest things. Like you have such a beautiful desire and intention to share with humanity. Like you geek out on this stuff to like give them the knowledge of more freedom. And you're doing it from a place of like love and joy and bliss and play and flow. And I'm like, yep, that's, so I'm like, yay, Ronnie, like, of course I called you in now. We get to just hang in this beautiful space. So I honor you for being who you are and how much you share with people. And you're a gift.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow. Well, this has been an incredible blissed and blessed, blissipline all the way through.
I like it.
Yeah, this has been such an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for joining me and for sharing your wisdom and perspective and insight with everyone that is watching and
Thanks
listening.
for enjoying us together. It was fun. It's always fun.
Yeah, definitely a special edition, special moment right here.
Yeah, now it's a new moon. Now we get to do ceremony around the new moon.
Yes.
Well, we gotta go. We get to go.
Yeah. Okay. This has been amazing.
Yeah. Awesome. Love you.
Love you
guys. Mwah.